It started like most family gatherings do, with noise, with laughter, with the unspoken expectation that everything will go smoothly. But sometimes, beneath the surface of smiles and small talk, there's a deeper current, one that eventually pulls someone under. Today's story is about that moment, that breaking point, when someone, pushed too far, finally says what no one else dares to. This is the story of a woman who yelled at her sisters, and not just because of a minor disagreement, but because for years she had been carrying something heavy, something they chose not to see. Welcome to AITA Stories. Let's begin. Our narrator, a 28-year-old woman, lives with her husband and their 2 children, a 3-year-old and a 4-month-old baby. Now, rewind a bit. Their first child came as a surprise. She and her husband were financially stable, living in a 2-bedroom apartment. But the pandemic changed everything. Her job was lost, and while she stayed home with their son, her husband worked, shouldering all the financial responsibility. They made it work, but life didn't slow down. They saved up and eventually bought a house, and with it came the decision to expand their family. Their second child was planned. However, pregnancy was not easy. In fact, it was brutal. She was diagnosed with hyperemesis gravidarum, severe nausea and vomiting. She couldn't eat. She was dehydrated. She lost weight. Even the thought of movement made her feel sick. She had to quit her new job. Once again, her husband took on all the financial pressure. And through it all, she was a mother to a toddler who didn't understand why mommy couldn't play, a wife trying not to feel guilty, a human being clinging to moments of strength. And here's where her sisters come in. She has 2 older sisters. Let's call them Hannah and Claire. Now, these sisters were child-free. They had said they never wanted children, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what was wrong was how they treated her decision to have children. They called her irresponsible, said she was burdening her husband. They whispered judgments and made jokes about how she trapped herself in a life of diapers and screaming kids. It wasn't support. It wasn't concern. It was mockery. Still, she tried to be patient, to rise above. She invited them to family gatherings, answered their texts, sent pictures of her kids. But everything she shared became fuel for their criticism. Then came the family get-together. It was hosted at her house. She cooked, cleaned, prepped, all while caring for her newborn and toddler. And her sisters? They showed up with wine, rolled their eyes at the baby gear, and loudly declared to everyone in the living room that having kids was a waste of potential. That people who just become moms lose their identity. That motherhood was a trap for women too, weak to chase real dreams. And then they laughed at her in her home, in front of their parents, her in-laws, her friends. She snapped. She stood up, heart pounding, fists clenched, and she yelled. She yelled about the pain they never saw, the sickness, the hospital visits, the loneliness of being judged by the very people who should have supported her. She yelled about how being a mom didn't make her weak, how choosing love, sacrifice, and family wasn't a failure, that staying home with kids didn't mean she was less than them. She told them they were cruel, that she was tired of pretending it didn't hurt, that they could leave and take their wine and their disdain with them. Silence. Her sisters were stunned, but so were her parents, her in-laws, even her husband. Later that evening, the text messages began. Her mom told her she had overreacted, that family gatherings weren't the place for drama. Her dad was silent. Her sisters? They blocked her. And her husband, bless him, told her he was proud, that he wished he'd said something sooner, that for once they had heard her. But still, she asked herself, am I the asshole? Now pause. Let's talk about the weight of motherhood. About how, in American culture, women are often expected to juggle everything: children, relationships, careers, without complaint. And yet, if they choose to be stay-at-home moms, they're mocked. If they work, they're judged for not being there. If they struggle, they're told, you chose this. Where's the compassion? Where's the grace? In this story, our narrator didn't just explode over a few mean comments. She cracked under years of dismissal. She shouted because whispering hadn't worked. She fought for dignity, not just for herself, but for every mother who's been told she's settled. So no, she's not the asshole. She's human. And her story is a reminder, a powerful one, that we need to be kinder to the people living different lives than our own. Not every woman wants children. That's valid. But not every woman who has children is trapped. Let's make space for both truths. Let's stop judging. Let's start listening. And if you're still unsure, ask yourself this: if the roles were reversed, and she had walked into their homes and insulted their lives, their choices, would they have stayed silent, or would they have yelled too? This story ends with a choice, not hers, yours. What kind of sibling do you want to be? What kind of family do you want to create? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you've ever had to defend your life choices, whether it's motherhood, career, or something else, comment 777 below. You're not alone. This has been AITA Stories, and I'll leave you with this: respect is not owed only to those who live like us. It is owed to every human who walks their path with love. See you next time.